All right, here we are back again. My Louisiana Sky, Chapter 11. We are past the funeral, past the awkwardness of that first meeting of Jesse Wade coming back to Tiger after their kiss scene, and we're into Chapter 11 where Dory Kay once again comes back into the story, and she's got an idea here that is absolutely going to rock Tiger's world. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're going to just read about it right now. Chapter 11. The next day I sat in a stool in the kitchen while Aunt Dora Kay showed Daddy how to write checks and for the bills. She sat across from him at the table with a stack of envelopes between them. In the beginning of the session, Dora Kay's voice was kind and patient. Now see, everything's spelled out for you. It's really easy. She demonstrated how to write a check for the bills total, smiled at him, and said, Your turn. Daddy scratched his head as he picked up the bill. Confusion flooded his face. His hand brushed back his hair, still damp from washing. I don't rightly see. His ears turned red, and I knew he was embarrassed. Aunt Dora Kay sighed. She spoke loudly as if Daddy were hard of hearing. Lonnie, the paper clearly shows the total amount. How could it be difficult? Daddy's ears turned redder. But why don't they give you all these numbers when you only want to pay one of them? Seems like they want you to pay more than you have to. Dora Kay shook her head, then rested her forehead on her hands. I sprang to my feet. Show me how. I can take care of the bills. I wanted to save poor Daddy from this misery. He could tell us how many plant cuttings he'd made at work or how many eggs our hens laid, but if he faced numbers on paper, he'd freeze up. Granny said Daddy's mama caused his fear of numbers. When his second-grade teacher had asked him why he couldn't finish his arithmetic, he put his hands in his pockets and said, My mama says it's because I'm retarded. Reading didn't come any easy for him. I remembered when I first started to read, he asked me, Do them letters dance on the page? When I told him no, he looked relieved, smiled, and patted me on the head. Oh, that's good, he said. That's real good. Aunt Dora Kay studied me a moment, then glanced at Daddy. He stared at the paper as if a total would pop up out at him. Aunt Dora Kay shook her head and sighed again. Well, you shouldn't have to worry about this, Tiger. You had plenty to do with your schoolwork. Finally, she gave up. She called Brother Dave, offered and exchanged services. Daddy would mow the church lawn in exchange for Brother Dave writing out the monthly bills. I imagine most men would have been humiliated. Daddy said, Well, I'll be happy to mow the church grounds for Brother Dave. Then he went out the door whistling as he marched to the shed and took the lawnmower out. I stared at the floor. The pity I had for Daddy stirred with shame I felt about him. Aunt Dora Kay hollered from the screen porch. Lonnie, not right now. Start next week. She stepped into the kitchen with a worried look on her face. Just then the phone rang and Dora Kay answered. A moment later she said into the receiver, I think that'll do, Tiger. A world of good. Then she saw me staring at her and added, I know Tiger will want to help you, but I'll ask to make sure. After she hung up, she explained, Oh, Woodrow Thompson needs some extra help at the nursery for the rest of the summer. He's expecting big things with his Louisiana Lady Camellias. He called to ask if you'd like to work there. What do you think? I hope it didn't mean Jesse Wade would see me. There was a big pit in my stomach because of everything I said to him. But I heard myself answer, I'll be glad to help out. I'll call him back, Dora Kay said. You'll get paid, of course, and it would keep your mind busy. Later in the afternoon, I lay on the couch reading while Mama watched cartoons from her pillow. Her hair was greasy and she smelled like sour milk. She had refused to take a bath and change out of her nightgown since the funeral. Aunt Dora Kay lifted my bare feet and settled beneath them. She wiggled one of my big toes. Tiger, let's you and I go to the picture show in Alexandria. And Alec? Well, we could catch a matinee. Movies were a rare treat. My feet hit the floor with a thump. Yes, ma'am! The movie marquee read Funny Face, starring Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire. We waited in the long line outside, listening to the popcorn machine in the lobby. Finally, we reached the box office window and bought our tickets. As we stood in the concession line, I noticed some colored people climbing the stairs to watch the movie from the second floor. Some of the little kids looked back at us in line. In the dim auditorium, we settled into the folding chairs facing the ruby curtains. I nibbled on popcorn from a cardboard box and shared a large cola with Aunt Dora Kay. Before long, the curtains opened and a giant silvery screen was there. My problem seemed to disappear as I focused on Miss Hepburn. She had a long neck like my own. Her slender shape didn't resemble the curvy figures of the other movie stars like Marilyn Monroe or Jane Russell. Maybe I wasn't doomed after all. At the end of the movie, I stood up and stretched my arms above my head. How about a milkshake? Aunt Dora Kay asked. She could turn plain days into holidays. We strolled down the street to the drugstore soda fountain. I sat in a stool in front of a shiny counter, watching the plump waitress scoop chocolate ice cream into tall mixing tumblers. Nearby, some of the teenage girls wearing poodle skirts sat in a booth slipping Coke floats. While I sipped on my milkshake, a colored boy with curly eyelashes pressed his face against the window and watched me. I stopped drinking. A second later, his mother snatched his hand and dragged him away. That milkshake didn't taste so good after that. I looked around the drugstore. There were a lot of people. White people. I started thinking about all those colored folks climbing the stairs at the picture show, while Aunt Dora Kay and I sat on the first floor eating popcorn and slurping Coke. I wanted to ask Dora Kay about it, but I didn't want to spoil the afternoon. I felt proud to be with my sophisticated aunt. She wore real stockings. Every time her lipstick faded, she fetched a tube from her purse and reapplied a new coat without glancing in the mirror. How would I survive in Seder when she returned to Baton Rouge? After Abby Lynn's party, I didn't stand too much of a chance of ever being close friends with her or any of the other girls. I sucked the last drops of chocolate shake from the bottom of the fountain glass, wondering what would happen to me without Granny and Aunt Dora Kay. Brother Dave would be doing the bills, but who would cook and clean and listen to my problems? As I tried to stab the cherry with the straw, Aunt Dora Kay swiveled on the stool and touched my arm. She spoke softly. Tiger? Yes, ma'am. How would you like to live in Baton Rouge with me? All right. Talk about a proposal there. To live in Baton Rouge with Aunt Dora Kay. Number one, here's what we know about the situation. Dora Kay is very, very rich. She's very well off. She is a very independent woman that would probably pay for Tiger's college. Now, I wonder if moving to Baton Rouge would give Tiger a leg up on making a name for herself. We know Tiger is a great student. We know she's very smart. And she certainly has potential to make a name for herself like a Dora Kay in life and make a lot of money and maybe start a family in the big city. But here's my question. What happens back home? What happens to Mama? What happens to Daddy? Is Brother Dave going to be able to come in and pay the bills once a week and they'll be fine on their own? What would happen if an emergency came through to their house? Would Daddy or Mama, could you see them reacting to something that would happen? You know, I truly don't know. You know, they're very simple people. Daddy knows farming, but he does not know other things. And I think that's a little out of Daddy's comfort zone. And as for Mama right now, she is an absolute train wreck. She smells of sour milk. She's not doing very well, and she's struggling over the loss of her mother. One other commentary I would like to add to the end of this chapter is The racism, the segregation that we see in the South here, first of all, this takes place in Louisiana, and we obviously know that 1950s in Louisiana, you're in the South. Blacks and whites did not get along. This is before the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Martin Luther King had not come out yet. Rosa Parks had not come out yet. Brown versus Board of Education had just been passed. But I tell you what, guys, the schools in the South, even though Brown versus Board of Education was passed saying that these kids that are in separate schools should be integrated into regular schools, they didn't follow that order. They did not follow it, and the segregation of these poor black kids was still very apparent. Here we see Dory Kay and Tiger enjoying a milkshake in a little store, and there's the colored kid who's not allowed to come in because of his skin color. It's the culture. It's the time period. It's the culture. It's the way things were back then. And I feel blessed that our society today has come so far in terms of racism. You even go back to the movie theater where the blacks had to stand on the balcony to watch the movie. They were not allowed to go downstairs with the white folk. And that's Tiger's world. She doesn't understand about it. She likes Minnie and Abner, their friends of hers that live up the road in Seder, but they are black. And did you notice how they did not mingle with the white people as they were comforting Tiger and the rest of her family over Granny's death? Just some worthwhile thoughts to think about there. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close up here. We're moving on to the next chapter 12 in the next section here, and I so appreciate you guys following me on YouTube. Have a blessed day.